Folks, I'm very excited today with none other than, I would say he wrote the soundtrack of our lives in worship, known for All in All and You Are My Hero, Faithful and True, When the Night is Falling, I Belong to Jesus, We Will Worship. It goes on and on and on. It's none other than the modern day psalmist. I think the most fantastic worship writer and leader of the 20th century, if you ask me, is none other than my friend, Dennis Jernigan. How you doing, Dennis?
I'm doing great, Brent, and you're making me want to cry. So stop saying those kind of things to me.
Oh, Dennis, it's true. It's true, brother. It's true. And
Well,
I tell you,
I just love worshiping Jesus, and that's all there is to it. So
I know. Well, Dennis, it seemed like yesterday I think it was the mid 90s or early 90s. I got to have lunch with you, and I think you had already written 1,000 songs
yeah.
about that time, man. You were leading worship at I believe, was it a Western Hills Baptist in Oklahoma City?
Well, they brought the Baptist after we got there. They called it Western Hills Church, and now it's got a brand new name. It's called Together Church.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, Western Hills was where it all began.
Wow. It just seems like yesterday, Dennis, because these amazing songs. A whole new genre of worship. And my gosh, they're timeless. You've got new music. We're going to get to that. You're also an author, man. You've always spoke but you're also an author, and you kicked out this new 16 song collection that, folks, if you look on the link that's on your screen, and also the website, if you buy the book, the newest book, which is so funny, the title that you named it, in spite of its reality, you've always maintained your humor. But if you buy Dennis's new book, Parkinson's and Recreation, then you're able to get, this 16 song collection. And those of you who are watching this on social media, if you take a picture of yourself with this book, you can move on from there, email that to Dennis and share on your social media. But with all that said, Dennis, there's so many things we could talk about. I was so impressed when I first met you, and then I just watched things that continue to explode, as you would travel the world doing these incredible worship concerts. Next thing you know, they're coming from all over the world to you, to the night of praise, the night of worship, and to watch that, go, and down to a trip that we both made to do a little worship kingdom conference with Jack Taylor, I believe, in Florida. But Dennis, one of the things I brag about you, and I'm going to be quiet in a little bit, but here you were with all the awards you've won, all the albums that you've created and sold, all the incredible moments that the people have used in their church by buying your music and putting on their special events with your music and your sheet music. We show up to that event, I think it was around 2000, 23 years ago. And you had a cast on your leg. You just put out a new project as well. And I was helping you on that trip, getting reacquainted with you. We show up to that thing, and folks, they have this little toy-like keyboard.
I forgot all about that.
It was a toy-like keyboard, and any worship leader would have had every right, to be a little concerned. But not only,
very kind.
Well, it's true, but I watched it. I was there. Not only were you so gracious to them, but Dennis, you made that toy keyboard sing. You made it sing, and the presence of God was just as strong as it ever was. So, Dennis Jernigan, man, it'd take a couple of lifetimes to thank you enough for the impact that you have made and continue to make. But catch us up on what's happening with you.
Oh my goodness, where do I begin? First of all, let me talk about that keyboard incident. If you'll remember, it was just a little Casio, and they wanted me to do like all of the songs of mine that were popular in that day. And so I'm not very mild-mannered at the piano. I play with all my heart, with reckless abandon. and that little keyboard kept falling off my lap. So I don't know if you remember this, but they had to have two guys stand in the middle of it, stand on either side of me, holding that keyboard down. That's what I remember from that night. And thinking, Lord, if you can get me through this, you can get me through anything. So just
It was amazing, man.
I've had lots of moments like that. At one place, I was playing the piano, and there were several thousand people there, and the place was rocking and rolling. So much vibration going on in the room that the key cover fell on my hands, and they had to duct tape the cover to the piano in an upright position so it wouldn't fall on my hands. I could tell you story after story like that, but just to catch you up on where I am, Melinda and I this August will celebrate 40 years of marriage.
Wow.
And our 9 children are grown and out of the house. And to answer all your viewers' questions, no, we're not Mormon. We're not Catholic. We're not adopted. And yes, we know what causes that. Now we just welcomed our 13th grandchild. We have 13. I can't believe it.
Wow.
All 9 years old and under. So
wow.
I'm busy writing grandpa songs now these days.
Oh my gosh, Dennis. You know, talk about a house full, and of course the beautiful home, you know, that I remember you had an outdoor concert at your home in Muskogee, and I tell you, man, you needed that house with those rooms with the kids you had then. So 13 grandchildren. I can only imagine what it's like shopping for that around Christmas time, unless you just write some fantastic songs, and that's still invaluable as well. But, you know, not only are you writing songs and new songs as well, but you're writing books, and you have been, from children's books to this latest book. And again, your humor is always intact. Tell us about the newest book you've got now, brother.
Well, the newest book for Jernigan diehard fans, they will probably undoubtedly be shocked at the title, that I would even use a title like this, besides share some of the things that I share, but I wanted to be as honest as I possibly could in the book. The book is called Parkinson's and Recreation, One Man's Journey Through Parkinson's So Far. Wow. And the reason it's given that title is because on January 28th of 2019, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and I'll be very honest with you, I was just absolutely devastated. I thought it meant a death sentence. I thought, well, I'll just start counting my days. And I remember making the public announcement. I won't mention the name of the church or the city, but it was a huge gathering of people. And I announced that I was going to step down from public ministry and stop touring and stop doing anything public. I was going to stay at home and minister via social media. And as always, after my ministry times, I would wait until the last person who wanted to talk with me was through the line. And one person comes up to me and says, "We're just so sorry for the diagnosis you received. We just went through this with one of our parents, and what you're about to experience is absolutely horrible." And that just about knocked me off my feet, because for one, I couldn't believe someone would say that kind of thing to me. Right. And the other thing was that became fighting words for me. Mm-hmm. I decided, well, Parkinson's isn't going to control my life. I'm going to use it for the kingdom. So that became our family's attitude. We're just going to practice Romans 8:28. We know that God causes all things to work for good to those who love him and are called according to his purpose. Right. And part of all things is Parkinson's, whether I liked it or not. Right. Well, I'm going to use Parkinson's for the kingdom. And what we've discovered in the past 4 years is that laughter really is a great medicine. It began very simply. We love to play games when we get together as a family, and everybody wants me on their trivia team. We play certain word games, and there's certain games that I can cheat at. And one of the games, my oldest son, he said, "Dad, you're cheating right now." I said, "I have Parkinson's." And he said, "So we're playing the Parkinson's card now." I said, "Yes, I'm going to use it whenever I need to get out of anything. I just play the Parkinson's card." And then just another thing that has become common in our family is one time, this has been about a year ago now, we were sitting around the table uh, with a big part of our family, and we all pack in tight together. However many of us are there, the table's not ever big enough, but we cram into it anyway. And we're all holding hands, and my right hand has a tremor. I don't know if you can see it, but it slimmers slightly pretty much all the time. And my son, who is 29, and he speaks his mind, after the prayer, my hand was still shaking during the prayer, of course. And because I was anxious about him feeling it shake, of course it shakes even more violently. And when we get through, he busts out laughing. He says, "Dad, it's like there's a party going on in your hand. That's your party hand."
That's
So
your party hand.
we now call my right hand Grandpa's party hand. And just to show you how we've turned, we just decided we're going to have a different point of view on Parkinson's. Right. And wow. Last June and July, my daughter and her husband, who live in Australia, they have two daughters. So two of my granddaughters speak Aussie, and I love to hear them say words like color and squirrel and hamburger. And so, but I was so apprehensive because we hadn't seen them in person in about 5 years.
Right.
And I was so apprehensive about the symptoms being very evident to my granddaughters and them being afraid of me. But as soon as they ran through the gates from the airport, headed to the baggage claim area, the youngest granddaughter, who was 5 at the time, came up to me and hugged me and just said, "G-Pa," and the other one grabbed me and said, "G-Pa." And they both wanted to hold my hand as we walked towards the baggage area. And the younger one had my party hand, and I was so anxious about scaring her, and I didn't want it to shake. But of course, I only amplified the tremors. And my granddaughter stopped and said, "G-Pa, why is your hand shaking?" And my wife, Melinda, didn't miss a beat. She said, "Didn't you know that's Grandpa's party hand? And whenever it shakes, the more he's glad to see you. That just means he's glad to be with you." And I burst into tears, and everybody was very emotional. But for the next 3 weeks while they were here in the US, those two granddaughters fought over who got to hold Grandpa's party hand.
Oh.
So it's things like that I wanted to put in the book. I wanted people to come away laughing, and I share some very personal things, everything from those things I just mentioned to things I'm not going to tell you about, but involve things that you wouldn't necessarily mention from the church pulpit, but they're pretty dang funny to me. It's part of my reality. And my neurologist has told me, he said, "Dennis, if anyone didn't know you, they would never know you had Parkinson's unless they looked closely." And of course, I'm anxious here talking with you because of the number of people who'll be watching. And so my arm is tremoring as we speak, but I've decided, well, what I was going to say was my neurologist said that it's not a death sentence.
No.
In fact, I wish all of my patients could spend time with you and just hear your attitude and hear how you approach it. He said, you can live another 20 and 30 years and be fine and have no progression whatsoever. So my plan, what I'm trying to say is, I plan to live well and I plan to die well.
There you go.
And I'm leaving as big a legacy as I possibly can. I'm already putting together tidbits for Parkinson's and Recreation Volume 2, because the more we go on with this deal, the more honest we get, the more open we get, the more we laugh. And it's just, Melinda and I have funny moments together. When you get old, it tends to make you get honest real quickly. That reminds me of another story that I shared in the book, and there's plenty. I'm not giving away too much.
Right.
A friend of mine who is in the medical profession, when I first got the diagnosis of Parkinson's, he said, well, Jernigan, tell me some of the symptoms that you're having. And I said, well, I've got a slight tremor in my right hand, and I find it hard to sleep at night. I'm restless, and I have issues with my bowels, and my mind gets foggy sometimes. And he said, just stop right there. You're not describing Parkinson's. You're describing getting old. You're just getting old.
I was about to say, man.
So,
yeah, that's part of the deal, baby.
part of the deal. And I accept it. And I get my senior discounts anytime and any way I can. And I'm not too proud to ask for a senior discount anywhere I go.
Well, you know what? You've always been a giant killer. You still are a giant killer. As you're going through this, man, you're a champion. You still are who you are. You're still a giant killer, and you're able to lighten the situation and actually encourage people who are going through this themselves. But you're matching courage with courage. People love you. They celebrate you. The party hand, that's funny, but it's also very precious. You know what I mean? And again, I've just never known you to ever be a victim. You're a giant killer. That's who you are.
Well, you have a choice. We may not have a choice as to our circumstances, but we always have a choice as to how we respond to those circumstances. And
right.
To put it quite simply, I can choose what I think about. I can choose how I think about. Nobody can tell me how to think.
Right.
I can choose to be happy, or I can choose to be sad. I can choose to be joyful, or I could choose to be in despair. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to enjoy the ride. I'm going to see life from the viewpoint of a little child seeing life for the first time.
Right.
And that's honestly how I try to live my life. I've created a special forest for my grandchildren, and I've been working on it for years.
Oh, wow. So
got over 2 miles worth of trails that I keep up. And in the spring, when everything blossoms, it looks like you would never know it was there because it's so lush and packed with vines and brambles and bushes and magnificent sycamore trees and walnut trees and pecan trees.
Wow.
And I've put a street sign. I've named all the different paths for one of my grandchildren, and they have actual street signs in the forest. We call it the Forest of Bren. And Bren means tears, and that's another story for another day. But
I think isn't that one of the characters in one of your children's books?
Well, it's the imaginary land. We call the magical forest of Bren the forest that I made for my grandchildren.
Oh,
that's
wow.
The magical forest of Bren. You go to the opening of the path system, and there are 2 stone lions guarding the entrance, and it looks like you're going into the bat cave. You would never know anything was there unless you stumbled upon these 2 stone lions. You enter it, and it's like going through a tunnel. You turn the corner, there's a stop sign, an actual stop sign, and beneath the stop sign there's another sign that says, stop here, put down your logic, put on your imagination, and proceed. And I have a John Deere Gator that I take my grandkids through the forest in, and they love to come here. They beg their parents to come here, and we go for rides through the forest. And every time we get to the stop sign, they inevitably say, Grandpa, you've got to stop, and we've got to do what the sign says. And then we go around another curve, and I've filled the forest with statues of creatures. The first thing we come to is a dragon. They always slay the dragon. Then we get to another one of the kids' lanes with the street sign with their name on it. and below that street sign is a unicorn, about a 4-foot tall unicorn. I won't bore your audience with all the.
Not boring at all. It's incredible. Wow.
My favorite one is Bigfoot, a 4-foot tall Bigfoot that's hidden in a very secluded part of the forest that only my grandkids and I know the existence of. And they love to go visit that place because it's eerie, but it does something to my heart to watch them get excited about going through that forest.
Wow.
And we have a campground in the middle of the forest and a cedar tree that was about 8 feet tall when we first moved to the place 24 years ago.
Wow.
And we decorated it. And now the next generation decorates the tree, and we keep it decorated all year round because in Grandpa and Grandma's magical forest, it's Christmas all year round.
Oh, man.
So I have a lot to live for. And I write stories for the kids. And the first is called, it's a trilogy called The Chronicles of Bryn. The first book is called Captured. The second book is called Sacrifice. And the third book is called Generations. And it's basically 3 allegories of my life, but filled with adventure that my grandkids, the 8 and 9-year-olds are now old enough to start reading those. But I've written another series that's actually going to have new books until the day I die, coming out every 2 or 3 years. But it's called The Bairns of Bryn, Bairns. Okay. Bairn is a Scottish word for child. So The Bairns of Bryn, my 13 grandchildren are the heroes of these books. And the first book is called Hide and Seek. The second book is called The Light Eater. And the third book is called The Puzzle. And in that one, the main evil character is named Sepelio Parkinson.
Oh.
And it was written as an allegory to teach my grandchildren how to face Parkinson's and how we're going to do it as a family.
Wow.
And all of those are available on Amazon and wherever you buy books online. I'm converting all of them to audiobooks as we speak. Because I want my grandchildren to hear my voice. Some of them are already available as audiobooks. The new book, Parkinson's and Recreations, One Man's Journey Through Parkinson's so far, is available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook already. So I've been a busy boy.
Yeah, you are, man.
My wife tells me I overdo it, and she's right.
Listen to the woman, Dennis. Listen to the woman.
If mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Oh,
that's
you got
real deal. And I would say that with Melinda standing here, and she would say, "You're absolutely right."
Well, you know what? Your love for your precious Melinda has been evident for a very long time to so many people. You know, talk about a legacy. And I mean, if you would have stopped 20 years ago, you would have had a legacy to last generations. But my gosh, look at all that you've accomplished and that you are accomplishing and what's on the horizon, Dennis. You know, I haven't seen your face in years, over a Zoom or all that, but man, you're Dennis. You know, I'm not sitting beside you, but I want to encourage you. Dude, I'm talking to Dennis. You're the same Dennis and still a giant killer and so inspiring.
That blesses my heart, but it reminds me of something one of my daughters said to me. I mentioned we play games a lot as a family, and we were playing this game like Trivial Pursuit. And so they all want to be on my team when we play trivia games because I'm an avid Jeopardy watcher. I think I could win Jeopardy most days. I do the New York Times crossword puzzle every day to keep my mind sharp. And on this particular game we were playing, I basically lapped everybody before I missed a question. And I just said to myself, oh man, I'm so stupid. And my daughter, Galen, said, Dad, let's be real here. You're the smartest person in the room. You're not stupid. You're just slow.
Well, hey, it's like Wyatt Earp said, hey, being fast is not the deal. Just it's better to be slower and accurate.
Yeah.
And I guess you're accurate, Um, Sherry Todd, you know who she
Oh,
is. She said hello and I love you, Dennis and Brant. And she
I love
sends
Sherry so much.
she sends her love, and of course, there's a sweet sister known you for 25 years, Sandy McGregor Parker, and she sends her love as well. There's so many others, countless others that you've inspired, my friend, and that you continue to inspire. Back when you hurt your leg, during that Jack Taylor conference where you made that Casio sing, where you had guys on the other side holding the keyboard, like the Ark of the Covenant, but you said something to me during that process because it was frustrating to you to have hurt yourself and slow you down a little bit at that time. You said, Brent, sometimes he makes us lie down in green pastures. And the songs that came from that season where you had to be a little more still, speak for themselves and all, man, folks, if you go to DennisJernigan.com, you're going to see so many great things, man. You got the books, the music, you've got your blog. I remember, hearing your podcast. I thought, man, he's really good on the podcast as well. And so talk about resources, talk about music, inspirational things, and of course the children's books. Dennis, what a treasure, brother. And with no exaggeration or flattery, you are a treasure. You are a giant killer. You are a champion. And you're just going to continue to make even more and more fantastic music and books and writings and podcasts. And folks, go to DennisJernigan.com. Go to allinallchurch.com. A lot of you are no longer going to a fellowship per se, but you want to still be a part of something. Well, you can join the family online every Wednesday, the live worship as well. But a treasure trove of songs and books and media and writings, and just an incredible man. Brother, I love you, and I just think you're fantastic. It'd be wonderful sometime to do a live call-in where people can interact with you, or my goodness, I mean, you've got about 50 seminars in your head for worship leaders or songwriters or song receivers or even writers. But brother, anything you put your mind to, you do, and you're Dennis, man. So it's so good to see you, and you're a breath of fresh air, and it does my soul good just to see your face. All you have to do is just breathe, and that's more than enough. But you're doing so much more than that. But so good to see you. I can't wait to catch up with you the next time. And just be blessed, my friend.
You have blessed me more than you know, brother. It's good to see you too. I love you and appreciate your place in my life.
I'm honored, my friend. I'm honored. And so are so many others who are seeing your face and who love you.